Well, good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome. Welcome along to Snetterton in Norfolk. We're racing on the 300 circuit this weekend for what is a two-day meeting for the Focus Cup. They had one race yesterday. They've got three races today to look forward to in what are cloudy conditions. Still chilly here at Norfolk, and there's also still a bit of a breeze as well. But the cars are making their way out onto the circuit for their second race of the weekend, their first of three races to look forward to today. And this grid is based on the finishing results from yesterday's race, albeit each batch of six gets reversed. So if you win the race, you start sixth. If you finish the race in sixth, you start on pole. That's the way that the grid will work, and that's the way the grids will work for the rest of the day as well, based on results, but batches of six reversed. I'm going to give you the grid. That is not at the front row of the grid for the Focus Cup. That is showing some cars that have been racing in one of the support races that has just happened here at Snetterton. So our grid should be formed with Craig Appleton on the front row of the grid, for a man from Maidstone in Kent. So he should be on the front row of the grid, and alongside should be, yes, and there it is, this is the grid. So Craig Appleton on the front row of the grid, Shields Bergstrom all the way from Milwaukee sitting out on the outside of the front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid is Simon Langford lining up alongside the man behind the championship, which is Simon Walton. Then as we head on to row 3 of the grid, it's Jonathan Baker who is there alongside Ali Topley, who starts 6th because he was yesterday's race winner. Ian Mitchell is next up on the 4th row of the grid, and for company he has got Ian Graham. And then as we head on to the next row of the grid, it is Mark McCann, who is the last of the petrol engine cars, and in reality the first of the diesels is next up, which is going to be Mark Reed. So he's on pole position in reality for the diesel class. Then it's Jake Critchley, who has got Macaulay Underwood for company on row number 6. And as we head to row number 7, it is going to be, next to the cars will be Andrew Mitchell sitting alongside Lewis Clark. Then it's Adam Winter, who won the diesel class yesterday in the number 4 car, so he's 6th off the diesel grid in reality. He's got Charlie Hall for company. And as we make our way further down through the grid, it's Ian Howard, who is alongside Cameron Ferraro McKenzie. Next up is Matt Croft, who has got Rich Hall for company, and then the next row we'll see Sarah Hall line up alongside Abby Walton, an all-female 11th row of the grid. Kevin Taylor Beebe is next up, and he has got alongside him the car of Neville Voss, who was disqualified from yesterday's results. I think there'd been a couple of little incidents, small ones he was involved with. Didn't actually cause a great deal of damage to any of the cars that contact was made with, but he was deemed to have been the culprit, and therefore heads to the back of the grid, so he's got a bit of work to do. So Craig Appleton, the man from Maidstone, starting this race from pole position. Let's see what he might be able to do in this one, and can he work his way through the order. Finished 6th in yesterday's race, Craig Appleton, so that's why he starts on the front row of the grid in the green car with the black flashes to it. He has got the largely yellow and blue machine of Shields Bergstrom that sits alongside, and Simon Langford's car is white, but it's got the Union Jack livery down the side of it and the ABS sponsorship to it. And then Simon Walton's car is largely light blue with black that sits there on the second row of the grid. John Baker, it's sort of dark blue and light blue for him, and Ali Topley, yesterday's race winner, it's white, black and yellow, so watch out for him. You can just see him in the very corner of the shot, sort of half of the car you can spot. So that's the colours on the front few rows of the grid. In the diesel class, it's white and Union for Mark Reed, alongside him Jake Critchley, who is largely white, light blue and red. Final few rows of the grid just coming into position now. This is a 15-minute race. So we should be able to get something like 7 laps out of this one if everything goes to plan with these cars. But we've got most of the petrol cars all into position. We're still awaiting the diesel class to fully get themselves to where they need to be. So our marshal's just making sure that there is a relative gap of a couple of rows between where the back of the petrol engined class is, which is the 300 brake horsepower 5-door Focus STs. Then there's a couple of rows gap before we get the 3-door diesel engined 2-litre TDCI 180 brake horsepower machines. So they all go off when the lights go out, but there's a couple of rows gap between the back of the petrols and the front of the diesel class in reality. So last little bit of shuffling just being done, just to make sure everybody's where they need to be. They have had their formation lap to try and get as much warmth as they can in their control Nankang tyres that they all run. All of the diesels run a slightly smaller tyre. It's a smaller rim, it's a slightly higher profile, it's a slightly smaller tyre, whereas the petrol cars, wider rim, lower profile, wider tyre. But they are all Nankang and very much a controlled tyre throughout the championship. So final row of the grid, I think just coming into position, just taking a while just to get the cars where they need to be. There is an arm being waved mid-grid as well, which is slightly worrying that somebody maybe has a problem, and that looks like it might be Jake Critchley actually that's waving out of the window of the number 32 car as though all is not well. He is on the outside of the front row for the diesels in reality. So I think we're going to get the green flag at the tail end of the order. We've got the 15 minutes on the clock, and then once we get the green flag at the back of the grid, we'll see the 5-second board held aloft on the gantry, and then when the lights go on, once they flash out, we'll be away and racing for what will be round 4 of the 2026 Focus Cup. So, green flag at the back of the order, and then we wait for the 5-second board to be held aloft, which it does now. The revs begin to rise, you'll see the lights come on the gantry, and who's going to get the better start? Craig Appleton and Shields Bergstrom on the front row of the grid. Red lights on, red lights go out now, and it's a good start from Craig Appleton from the front row of the grid. Shields Bergstrom is a little bit slower away, which means that Simon Langford already is looking to try and sneak his way from third up to second place if he can on the run up towards Ritchie's for the first time, and Simon Langford is through and into second position. Simon Walton's there in third, John Baker's in fourth, and Shields Bergstrom has dropped to fifth, which could be sixth by the look of things, because he is under pressure from Ian Mitchell. There was one car that didn't get going when the lights went out. That was one of the diesel engine cars, which I think is stricken on the circuit at the moment, and he's just waiting to get going. And I do have a feeling that might be the pole sitter from the diesel class, which is number 3, Mark Reed, who didn't get going. He is, I think, in need of the assistance of the marshals to try and push him off the grid, where he still remains stuck at the moment. But on the 300 circuit, hopefully the marshals will have enough time to push him entirely out of harm's way. Race continues in the meantime with, by the look of things, John Baker now going for the lead of the race. Up the inside of Craig Appleton he goes. He picks up the lead of the race. Appleton down to second, but instantly under pressure from Simon Langford. There is the stricken diesel car of Mark Reed, which is going nowhere still at the moment, and if the marshals can't clear that, a safety car will be required. Grassy moment for Simon Langford coming through the exit of Hamilton, bounces over the grass, rejoins. He's got Simon Walton sitting behind him, but as expected, the news is just reaching me, and you can see on your screens in the top left, safety car is coming out with that car stricken on the start-finish line, and the marshals unable to move it out of harm's way. It does look as though safety car is now coming out, so that is going to bring the race to a controlled status. I think they have just about got his car out of harm's way, so this could be a very short safety car period. Safety car is waiting at pit lane exit to pick up the field. The field has slowed to the correct pace, but the car, you can see, that was there against the pit wall has now moved. It's now just over to the right hand side. There's a little gap in the barriers just near the marshals post, and I think the marshals have pushed the stricken car of Mark Reed not fully behind the barriers. I think it's still there, but it's almost fully out of harm's way. So race control, understandably, a little bit. Well, there you go. You can just see the car now on the slightly wider shot. You can see it's not fully behind the barriers, so they've got it almost out of harm's way. But I think, obviously, at the time, with the delay of trying to get that car moved, because it really was struggling to get moving under marshal power, then race control had little choice but to deploy the safety car. Once the safety car is out there, it will then accelerate with the field behind it, and then that gives the marshals a bit more time to regroup, get some extra resources there, and then fully shove that car behind the barriers out of harm's way. So I am hopeful this will just be a single lap behind the safety car, and it does allow me to run you through the order, including what had been going on in the diesel class whilst we were looking at what was happening at the sharp end in the petrol class. John Baker leads the way in the number 10 car. He's the first of the cars behind the safety car, and Craig Appleton, who was the pole sitter, the number 5 car, sits there in second place. Simon Langford is third, then it's Simon Walton in fourth. Fifth is number 81, that'll be Ian Mitchell, and Ali Topley, there we go, at the wheel of number 1 Power Maxed car. He was the diesel champion for last year and stepped up to the petrol class for this year. That's why he carries the number 1. He completes the top 6 at this stage. Shields Bergstrom is 7th. He started on the front row of the grid, if you remember, the man from Milwaukee in America. And then 8th place is Ian Graham. 9th place is Mark McCann, who had a good run yesterday, but ultimately retired towards the end of the race. And completing the top 10 is going to be number 95, Andrew Mitchell. And that car, number 95, it's silver with red. It's got the YouTube livery to it. That car is leading the diesel class at this stage. Andrew was a 2-time race winner at Donington Park at the opening weekend of the season, but could only manage third in yesterday's race. So the silver car with these sort of red flashes towards the wings just coming towards us now at Agostini. That is the leading Class 2 car, the leading diesel car at this stage, right behind Mark McCann, as you can see. Then next up, just outside of the top 10, will be number 17, Lewis Clark. He is a 3 times Focus Cup champion. Twice he's won it in the diesel class. He stepped up to the petrol class last year and won the petrol class, but he's back into diesels this year. Didn't have the best start to the season at Donington Park, but he had a good run yesterday, did Lewis Clark. So the number 17 car is there in 11th place and 2nd of the diesels, and 12th and 3rd of the diesels at the moment is number 32, which is Jake Critchley. Jake, who yesterday had his best result of the season. He finished inside the top 6 for the first time. He finished in 5th position yesterday. So that sort of runs through the top dozen cars and picks out certainly the top 3 also in the diesel class. So the clock's still ticking whilst this safety car period is going on. I think we have satisfied ourselves that the number 3 car is far enough out of harm's way, so I am hopeful the safety car will extinguish its lights at the end of this lap and it will start to accelerate away from the pack, and that will be the indication that it's going to head in towards the pit lane at the end of this lap. Well, the lights are still on for the moment, so if it accelerates away from the pack, which I suspect it will do, and extinguish the lights, and that will mean that it will be diving into the pit lane at the end of this lap. But for the moment, it's still got the pack of cars right behind it. It's still got its lights illuminated. And are we going to see it come in at the end of this lap? No, not as yet still. The lights are still on at the moment. And very well, we're going to get another lap behind the safety car. Now, we've still got some marshals on the start-finish line, and I think the problem is, whilst the car is sort of out of harm's way, I think there's some oil that has gone down, or some lubricant or something has gone down. So the team on the start-finish line are in the process of treating whatever has gone down onto the tarmac there. So whilst the car is pretty much out of harm's way, they need to make sure that the circuit is ready to go, and it's not quite, with whatever it is, some sort of fluid having to been deposited down. So there's several marshals on track still on the start-finish line. You can see them all busy sweeping away, and the indication being given by the marshals to all of the drivers to stay over to the left-hand side of the circuit so that they can allow the marshals to put the quick dry down. And you can see that line which sort of follows where the car was arced and turned left from where it was stationary on the pit wall over to the little gap that exists in the barriers there. So the marshals will sweep that up. Should be done, I would have thought, then by the end of the next lap. But of course all of this is eating into the race time. The lap behind the safety car is taking about 4 minutes. Well, we've got 8 minutes to go. So if the safety car comes in at the end of the next lap, we should be able to squeeze out maybe 2 or 3 racing laps out of this one. And of course the results from this race will give us the grid for race 3 of the 4 we've got this weekend for the Focus Cup, albeit remember each batch of 6 gets reversed. So if you win this race, you'll start 6th place from the race later on today in your class. Whether it be the petrol class, you win, you start 6th. If the diesel class, you win, you start 6th. If you finish 7th, then you'll start 12th. If you finish 12th, you'll start 7th. Each batch of 6 gets reversed. And if you're wondering what happens if it's not divisible by 6, the number, well, the final batch of cars, if there's only 4 in it or there's only 5 in it, the 4 or the 5 get reversed. So it's the maximum number of 6, and anything less than that after you've got through those batches of 6, the final numbers all get reversed. It's an interesting way, and it does work. When Simon Walton first introduced this into the Focus Cup, there he is, the man behind the championship, a few years ago. It has really worked, and I think the format works as well, in that all of the cars are centrally prepared by Simon's team up in the northeast of the UK. So you sort of hire the car for the weekend in reality at a fixed fee. That includes basic sort of refreshments and hospitality. It includes Friday testing as well. It includes your entrance to the race. All of the cars arrive and have allocated mechanics. So you literally buy the whole package for the weekend. The only thing you have to add on top, because fuel and tyres are all included as well, is if there's any accident damage. And they do offer an accident damage scheme as well, so if you wish you can take that out as an optional extra, which means that, you know, if you do have damage to the car, yes, there's still an excess like an insurance policy to pay. It's not an insurance policy, it's an accident cost scheme in reality. But yes, you pick up an amount of the damage, but anything subsequently thereafter is picked out of the scheme that you've applied for. But that is an option, you can do that should you wish. So it really does mean that it's an affordable way to go racing, and whilst the petrol classes are a little bit more expensive to enter, they're still affordable. And then of course you've got that diesel class, which was the original class that was first introduced back in 2019, I think was the first year that we had Focus Cup in this country. And Andy Wilmot, who we've seen out racing in things like British Touring Cars and TCR in the past, was the champion that year. So 6 minutes to go. Still lots of weaving being done to try and maintain Nankang tyre temperature. The sweeping up on the start-finish line, looking out of my commentary box window, has now been concluded, so I can't see any further marshals on the start-finish line, so I think the lights will go out on the safety car this time around, and we should be able to get certainly 2, probably 3 laps of racing out of this one. They are on lap number 3 at the moment, but of course 2 of those have been behind safety car now. So safety car lights are out. It is accelerating its way away from John Baker, who is desperate to try and get on with things. John has been in the Focus Cup for a good few years now. Finished 3rd in the standings in the petrol class last year. He was runner-up in the diesel class the year before, because last year was the first year of the diesel class. Sorry, first year of the petrol class, I should say. He was runner-up in 2024, and he'll be hoping that he could claim his first win of the season here, because his best result was in the first race of the year, which we had at Donington Park, where he finished 2nd. So we get the race back underway. No overtaking until they reach the control line. John Baker gets the jump on Craig Appleton in 2nd place as they charge their way over the start-finish line, over the dust that's just been deposited down there following that problem at the start for Mark Reed. So as they head up towards Ritchie's corner, John Baker not under any pressure whatsoever for the lead of the race. Ian Mitchell, however, is applying pressure to Simon Walton. There's a big sideways moment for Simon Langford, who on cold rear tyres got sideways, and I'm afraid through goes Simon Walton, through goes Ian Mitchell, and if the door is open, Ali Topley will want to squeeze his way through as well. I don't think Ali Topley's quite going to make it stick at the wheel of a Power Max car, but Simon Langford, who was 3rd, is now down into 5th and almost down into 6th position with that moment. Ali Topley trying to nip up the inside going in towards the left-hander at Palmer. Simon Langford for the moment just about sticking his elbows out and hanging on to the position, and that sort of split the pack a little bit, so the lead 2 are getting away. Simon Walton sitting there in 3rd, Ian Mitchell in 4th, Simon Langford under attack from Ali Topley, again heading in towards the braking area for Agostini. Yesterday's race winner has not made really any progress in this race. Won the race yesterday on the basis of the reverse grid. He started 6th in this one. Well, that's still where he is at the moment, albeit he is trying hard to see if he can unlock the door to gain a place. They'll thread their way through Oggies and down a short straight towards Williams, which is such a critical corner here at Snetterton on the 300 circuit. You've got to get a clean exit coming out of Williams, because any speed you carry once you put your foot down after the apex at Williams, you carry that momentum all the way down the Bentley Straight, one of the longest straights that we have in UK motorsport, in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. Simon Langford looking to attack Ian Mitchell, conscious that he's got Ali Topley behind him, so they still all remain in the same order for the moment. And the diesel class at this stage, it is still, I think, the number 95 car that leads that, which is Andrew Mitchell that leads that particular class in the silver and red YouTube car. He was leading it when we got the race back underway after the safety car, but with 2 3/4 minutes to go, we should be able to squeeze out 2 further laps of this one would have thought. So onto the brakes, through the left-hander at Murray. Simon Walton still hanging on to 3rd. Ian Mitchell there in 4th, and we have had a change in the diesel class by the look of things. And let's have a look, that's the diesel class just heading through now. I thought Andrew Mitchell was leading it. I'm just going to wait and confirm that when they come over the start-finish line next time through, and just pick up on who is the leader of the diesel class. The petrols, the Class 1 cars, just working their way at the end of the centre straight, round through Ritchie's corner. The order still remaining the same, with John Baker from Craig Appleton, then the gap to Simon Walton, Ian Mitchell. Ali Topley has gone through and ahead of Simon Langford. And in the diesel class, we're side by side for the lead of the race, and it looks as though Lewis Clark has got the inside line. Yep, he's going to go through and ahead of Andrew Mitchell, and on the run towards Ritchie's, it is the 3 times Focus Cup champion, twice the champion in the diesel class, that being Lewis Clark, that now picks up the lead of the diesel category. Down to 2nd is the YouTube back car in the hands of Andrew Mitchell, and 3rd in diesel at the moment is going to be, I think, Jake Critchley possibly. So 1.5 minutes on the clock still to go. The leading pair still up the road from this great fight for the final spot on the podium. Ian Mitchell desperate to try and unlock the door on Simon Walton, and he's going to do it as they head round through Oggies. Simon Walton's got to give him room. Ian Mitchell nips up the inside. Ali Topley, yesterday's race winner, is now looking to try and take the opportunity as well to squeeze his way through. He's trying up the inside. Simon Walton surely going to have to give him room. He's pushed out a little bit wide on the exit of the corner, bounces over the curbs, and Simon Walton, I'm afraid, from running in third place, is now down into fifth position. He didn't do a great deal wrong there. He's just put off line, and as a result of that, once the door is open for one car, through comes the next, and he might lose a further place here because he's under attack from Simon Langford as they head down in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. So we're into the final 45 minutes of this race. John Baker leading the way. Simon Walton did just manage to hang on to it, just lost the one place to Ali Topley down the straight. Simon Langford in the 474 was not able to capitalise and work his way through up into fifth position. So Simon Walton third yesterday, fifth at the moment today, and they'll be heading on to their final lap of the race this time through because we're into the final 30 seconds of it. So John Baker on course for what looks like his first win of the season, and as for the number 17 car in the hands of Lewis Clark, it looks as though he is on for his first win of the season. There's a bit of a moment there for Charlie Hall, who at the wheel of his diesel engine Power Max car got a little bit squirrely and had to gather it up round through Brundle and Nelson. A similar liveried car that runs in the petrol class in the hands of Ali Topley has now managed to get himself through and ahead of 81, which is Ian Mitchell, so that's another place gained. Might have sat in sixth for quite some time, Ali Topley, but as soon as we go back to full racing, he has picked cars off. He is now going to be up into, I think that's third place, isn't it, for Ali Topley, yesterday's race winner. Now, he has very little chance of catching the top two because Craig Appleton and John Baker have disappeared up the road because they've not been squabbling away. You can see the relative gap. The leading pair just coming up towards Agostini for the final time. Ali Topley now up into third. Ian Mitchell down into fourth. Simon Walton there in fifth. Simon Langford in sixth place. Shields Bergstrom looks as though he's there in seventh. It'll be Mark McCann, I think, that's there in eighth place at the moment. Ninth will be the leading diesel car, which is Lewis Clark. 10th is going to be Andrew Mitchell, second in diesel. And 11th is going to be Ian Graham. He's one of the Class 1 cars, which means that in 12th, that will be the car that completes the diesel podium in reality, which is 32 Jake Critchley, who finished fifth in yesterday's race in the diesel category. So heading out of Williams, along the Bentley straight they will go. The diesel class cars just heading up towards Agostini. The light blue car is one of the Class 1 machines. That's Ian Graham, and he has now managed to, as far as Lewis Clark is concerned, quite fortuitously put a gap between first and second in the diesel class, so that's a bit of breathing space there for Lewis Clark. He leads diesel, but he's got a petrol car behind him. The race leaders, though, will be coming up towards the final few corners before too much longer. Just seems to have settled down a little bit at the front. Still fifth and sixth being disputed, which is Simon Walton under pressure from the number 474 car in the hands of Simon Langford. But for John Baker, he is on course for a win. He finished second in yesterday's race. He picked up a second at Donington Park in the opening race of the season. But he is about to win his first race of 2026. He's going to come through and claim a win, and I think that's only his third win in the petrol class because he took a couple last year. He comes through to claim his first win of 2026. Craig Appleton finishes in second position, his best result of the season so far, and Ian Mitchell finishes in third. In the diesel class, Ian Graham has got himself ahead now of Lewis Clark, so there's no sort of buffer anymore. So Lewis Clark, the number 17 car, leads the diesel class, and right behind him is second in diesel, which is Andrew Mitchell, as they thread their way around the never-ending right-hander at Coreham and in towards the braking area at Murray's for the final time. So onto the brakes, pitch the car in towards the left-hander, and the torque of the diesel engine car pulls it out of the corner very nicely indeed. He's going to chase one of the petrol cars of Ian Graham all the way towards the start-finish line, but Lewis Clark comes through to claim his first win in the diesel category this year, but is shadowed by Andrew Mitchell, who finishes in second in the diesel class, and then it'll be Jake Critchley who will be third in the diesel class. I think, yeah, the number 32 car just coming through to finish third in the diesel class. Fourth in diesel will be Andrew McCauley, and fifth I think will be Adam Winter, yesterday's race winner in the diesel category. So a good race that. John Baker looks chuffed with that one. The fastest lap of the race went on the very final lap of the race to the car that finished in third position. Ali Topley set the fastest lap of the race, and that could be important as well come the end of the season, because you do pick up an extra 5 championship points for the fastest lap of the race. So the cars, rather than do the full lap, are going to come back round into the paddock a bit earlier, which gives me a chance to confirm some results for you then. The win goes the way of John Baker, with Craig Appleton in second place and Ali Topley in third Ian Mitchell was 4th, ahead of Simon Walton in 5th. Then it was another Simon Langford, that completed the top 6. Mark McCann, Shields Bergstrom and Ian Graham were the last of the petrol cars home, and completing the top 10 was the first of the diesels, and therefore his first win of the season goes the way of number 17 Lewis Clark. Then next up, second in diesel, 11th overall Andrew Mitchell, and completing the diesel podium was 32, which was Jake Critchley. Then as we had outside of the podium spots in diesel, next up was going to be Macaulay Underwood. He finished in 13th place. 14th place was Adam Winter. 15th place was Ian Howard. 16th was Neville Voss, who came off the back of the order, so he did well. Cameron Ferrado Mackenzie was next up, ahead of the Halls, which was Charlie, ahead of Sarah. And then it is going to be the car of Kevin Taylor Beebe, who was next up, I should say, who finished in 20th position. Then outside of the top 20, it was Abby Walton, followed by the number 55 car of Matt Croft, and then, of course, the poor old pole sitter in diesel, Mark Reed, who didn't get going when the lights went out, and he was a retirement before, really, the race got underway. So that's it for our first of 3 races that we've got for the Focus Cup for you today. If you want to join us for race 2 of the day, race 3 of the weekend, then you need to do that around about 2:45 this afternoon. If you can't make that, join us for the final race of the weekend, which is going to be around about 5:30 later on today. Until then, we'll say goodbye.